The Courting by Meinekeime, Chapter 30. A master vampire in a family's magical core. Draco's point of view. I was sitting in my potions lab when Toppy informed me that a guest was at our front door. I took off my gloves and went upstairs. I hadn't expected someone today, and so I was curious to find who was on the door. When I arrived on the entrance hall, I was rather surprised to see an old friend standing there. His dark skin made him stand out next to the cream-colored walls. Blaze was wearing a dark green shirt and some jeans, while he leaned on one foot against the small table. "Blaze, old friend, what brought you here, bloodsucker?" I asked him while giving him a hug. He was smaller than me by 2 inches, but that didn't surprise me. He was a master of a coven after all. "Hello to you too, Birdie. I wanted to ask if you had a bed for me to sleep in and maybe a warm meal." "Inviting yourself again?" I asked, and led him into the living room and made him sit down while Toppy prepared an afternoon snack. "How's the coven?" I asked, leaning back. "Getting uneasy. You know, you Veelas do have it easy. You can choose your mate. I need to find my intended. There's only so much my babies can give me." Against Mugger beliefs, vampires don't suck blood from random people. They need their intended's blood to survive. Before they are able to search for them, they feed from their parents and later off the people they turn. But it will never sedate their hunger for long. "I know your coven is an island, so why are you here, near London?" I asked him and took the plate Toppy was giving me. I noticed that she had cleaned the rug she was wearing and had redone her bow. Now I understood why she had asked for an afternoon off. I hope he was worth it. "My coven and I are hunting Dumbledore's Horcrux coup. The bounty that was put on their head seems like a thing I need." I didn't look up what reward the dark put on their heads, but when Blaze left the safety of his coven to hunt them, it had to be quite a sum. "I sent my younglings to check Ireland, and the adults are searching through Scotland. I didn't want them in England because of the ministry. Them in there, what if a vampire bites a muggle shit?" He shook his head and drank from his glass of wine. "All in all, you will have me out of your hair by tomorrow. I just got tired of sleeping in the woods." Blaze was uneasy. He hated it when his coven wasn't together in one place. "Any specific reason you sent your whole coven for the hunt?" I asked, trying not to seem surprised. "The reward is a big piece of land near the coven. I can keep one of them. Maybe the Granger girl would make a good guinea pig for my younglings, so I can wean them off me a little." I nodded again, but I felt there was more to it. Still, I let him be and showed him to his room for the night. I left Blaze to rest and went into the study. I still had some letters to write. My relatives, mother and father, had already agreed to come from the next trip to China for a weekend. And my grandparents had agreed too. My aunt was still skeptical, but I hoped she would come. Harry had informed me of the last challenge, introducing the family. I knew this would come sooner or later. At least I knew my opponents and their weaknesses, and I wouldn't make the mistakes they would make. Harry's point of view. "What? How is this possible?" Grandmother shouted when I answered her question with no. She was going up and down in the kitchen and looking at me up and down. "You really sure you weren't taught Veela magic?" I nodded my head and pulled my knees up to my chest. Angry people always scared me. When Grandma saw that, she stopped immediately and hugged me. "I'm sorry, Harry. It's just, I feel like the biggest failure because I didn't provide you with the care you needed in your youth. It's the job of the head of the family to teach young Veelas their magic, you know?" I nodded my head in her neck, and she led me to the living room. She knelt on the ground, and I did the same. "Each Veela family has their own magic, and for you to mate properly, you need to learn your own magic and compare it with the ones of your potential mate." I nodded and folded my hands. "And how do I do that?" Grandmother took my hands and placed them in her lap. Through touch. When you have access to your family magic core, you will need to touch the suitor and let a little bit of the magic out. If you aren't compatible, it will feel like you were hit in the stomach. If you are compatible, you will feel a huge happiness. But this is all in the future, little one. Let's focus on the present, She explained and told me to sit in a crisscross position. Close your eyes, Harry, and just listen to me talk. Whatever happens, don't fight it, she instructed me, and I did as told. Harry, I won't be able to teach you the magic of your father, the grand magical dominant core, fired by powers they are holding, but I can teach you magic of your mother, the prince submissive core, fired by the bond they have with each other. I felt how she touched my shoulder, and I felt like I was pulled out of my body, entering a new dimension. I remembered grandmother's words and let everything happen to me. I was standing in a white room, and on the walls, videos were running. By what grandmother had said, I figured they must show the light of the prince submissives performing. I tried to find my own, but I was interrupted by a voice coming out of nothing. This is your magical core. A part of the prince is stuck in here, and you need to be accepted by each one, so you can bond with them. Just be yourself when they ask you questions. I nodded my head and soothed out my dress. When I felt the room spin, and all the voices disappear and built into one person. She was wearing a dark red dress and a tiara. Even though her appearance was one of a young adult, her eyes looked like one of an old woman. Hello, dear. My name is Lisa Burns, the first member of the Prince family. Now tell me, what is your name? I was taken back for a second. Prince? My family originated in Germany. I realized I was asked a question and collected myself. My name is Harry Prince Grant. The woman nodded, and as quick as she appeared, she left. Next, a young man appeared, but he didn't ask me anything, just looked me up and down, nodded, and disappeared. Again, the scene changed. Another man appeared. I couldn't quite put his clothes into a historical context. Hello there, youngling. I'm Cornelius Prince, your first ancestor that lived in Great Britain. Tell me, have you been honest with your family? He asked, and I just nodded. All this went on for 2 more family members. Then the walls began to move even faster than before, and I was thrown around until all I saw was black, and I realized I had to open my eyes. I slowly opened my eyes to see grandmother breathing hard. I rushed to her side and tried to help her. Do you need to lie down? Should I bring you some medicine? I asked her while sitting her down on the sofa. It's nothing, Harry. The ritual just takes a lot of energy, especially the first ancestors, because they were so deep down in our magic. We will have to do this thing again quite sometimes, but it will get easier. She just caught her breath when I felt a firm tug on my mind. Is it normal that it feels like someone is tugging on my brain? I asked her, and she looked at me shocked. I feel it too. Neville! She shouted, and the brunette ran into the living room. Yes, Ellen? We need to leave now. Severus is calling us. End of chapter 30.